Welcome back to Whispered Logs. Today's story isn't just about endurance on the battlefield. It's about dignity, honor, and the moment one soldier's quiet defiance forced the highest levels of command to act. It begins on a blistering summer morning, where the desert sun seemed determined to test the patience of every recruit. Dust clung to uniforms, sweat pooled beneath helmets, and the sound of boots striking the ground echoed like a drumbeat of discipline. Among those rows of recruits was Private First Class Emily Reyes. Emily wasn't the loudest, nor the most aggressive. She didn't bark orders or try to prove herself through bravado, but there was something steady about her presence, a quiet persistence that stood out. She carried herself with an inner strength that others couldn't quite define. Emily had grown up far from the chaos of barracks. In a small coastal town, her father fixed fishing boats, while her mother worked in a factory. They lived a modest life. Her parents wanted her to stay, to marry, to work a steady job where safety was certain. But Emily longed for something beyond routine. She wanted to serve, to belong to something greater, to stand in uniform for a cause bigger than herself. Her decision shocked many in her town. Some doubted she'd survive even the first week of training. Others whispered she wasn't strong enough, that the military wasn't built for someone like her. But Emily's resolve was immovable. She carried the weight of their doubt like a rucksack and pressed forward. The barracks, however, were nothing like the dream she'd carried. From day one, the challenges were relentless. Early mornings, grueling drills, endless expectations, and worse than the physical strain was the unspoken hostility. Some of the men mocked her openly, laughing when she stumbled. Others whispered behind her back, claiming she was there because of favoritism or quotas. Emily never answered. She endured in silence. She pushed harder. She ran longer. She stayed after drills to practice alone. Every insult became fuel. Every slight, another reason to rise the next day. But the tension reached its breaking point during a night exercise designed to test resilience. The recruits were told it would simulate capture, a controlled environment to practice resisting pressure. But what began as training turned cruel. Emily was cornered. At first, it was taunts, then shoves. She stood her ground, refusing to give them the reaction they wanted. But when she didn't break, one man snapped. His boot slammed into her head with brutal force. She fell hard. Her ears rang, vision blurred, and blood ran hot across her face. For a fleeting second, the world tilted into darkness. Many thought she wouldn't rise, but Emily did. Slowly, shakily, with legs trembling and eyes burning, she stood. She wiped the blood from her face. She didn't speak a word. She didn't retaliate. She simply walked away. The barracks fell silent. No laughter, no more whispers, just the sound of her boots carrying her toward the command tent. When she entered, her face bruised and her uniform torn, the officers inside froze. Moments later, the entire base was thrown into chaos. Headlights cut across the compound as 3 black SUVs thundered through the gates. Doors slammed, and out stepped 3 generals, men whose presence alone sent ripples of fear across the ranks. Generals did not arrive in the middle of the night. Not without reason. The question spread like wildfire. Why are they here? What happened? The answer became clear when Emily appeared behind them. She wasn't just another recruit. For years, she had quietly carried a connection she never flaunted. Her late brother had been one of their most decorated soldiers, a man these generals had personally served beside. Before he died, they had promised her family that Emily would never be abandoned if she chose to wear the uniform. She could have demanded punishment, but she didn't. Instead, her request was simple. She asked for accountability. Inside the barracks, the generals lined the men up. Their voices thundered as they demanded to know who had laid hands on her. Silence followed. None dared speak, but Emily did. She didn't name names. She spoke to the deeper truth. It wasn't just one man. It's the culture you've allowed here. Fix it, or more of us will fall. Her words cut deeper than any accusation. They weren't about revenge. They were about change. That very night, the unit was shut down. Investigations launched. Careers ended. The men who had mocked, taunted, and struck her would never again wear the uniform. The culture of cruelty that had been tolerated was dismantled piece by piece. But Emily's journey didn't end there. Transferred to a new base, whispers followed her. Some called her the one who shut down a unit. Others saw her as a symbol of quiet courage. She ignored both labels. She trained harder than before, not to prove herself, but to honor her brother's memory and the countless soldiers who came before her. Months later, during a formal ceremony, Emily stood on stage as a medal was pinned to her chest. Applause thundered, cameras flashed, but her face remained calm. Afterward, she placed the medal at a memorial wall filled with names of the fallen. When asked why she gave it away, her response was simple. It was never about me. It's about all of us who serve, believing in something greater. Over time, Emily rose through the ranks. She commanded her own soldiers. She demanded discipline, yes, but also dignity. Under her, recruits didn't fear humiliation. They grew under her guidance. She proved that strength wasn't in cruelty, but in respect. Her story spread quietly, whispered from one barracks to another. Not because she sought fame, but because she had walked into a command tent, bloodied but unbroken, and demanded justice with a steady voice. Years later, recruits looked at her not just as a leader, but as proof. Proof that true strength is not found in the fist, but in the courage to stand tall when the world tries to push you down. Emily Reyes never wanted glory. She wanted change, and history remembered her as the soldier who, with one quiet act of defiance, forced generals to listen and transform the system. This is her story, and it is a reminder to us all. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it speaks in a whisper, steady and unshaken. If Emily's story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Here at States of History, we bring you untold stories of honor, sacrifice, and courage. Stories that deserve to be remembered.